Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar. I am Robert Kurtz, moderator for the program, which is brought to you by Medicus IT. Medicus IT is a leading healthcare-focused managed services provider and one of the largest MSPs in the nation. We are recording today's session, so all attendee lines are muted. Attendees will receive an email that provides a copy of the presentation and a link to the recording of today's program. Our program will begin with a presentation. Following this presentation, we will have a question and answer session. You can submit any questions you have throughout the presentation via the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. We have a large audience with us today, so our presenter will likely not get to all of your questions, but he will work to follow up on those questions he does not have the opportunity to address. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's panelists. Brian Kern is partner at Acadia. He's a well-recognized medical professional liability insurance executive with nearly 20 years of experience. Brian's an expert in many facets of professional liability risk, including risk purchasing and retention groups, captives, and loss portfolio transfers. He has helped several large physician practices implement risk management programs that incorporate patient satisfaction and other metrics aimed at both decreasing risk and increasing reimbursement. Joining Brian is Nelson Gomes, who will be facilitating the program. Nelson is the New Jersey President and Senior Vice President Development for Medicus IT. He's an IT veteran with more than 29 years of IT experience and founder of Priority One Group. I'll now turn the floor over to Nelson. Nelson?
Thank you, Rob. I want to take a moment to thank Brian and all of you for joining us today. This program continues to be our series focusing on critical issues during the health crisis on topics that are in and outside of Medicus IT's wheelhouse. We hope these webinars help you make more informed decisions for your practice as you continue to navigate during these challenging times and ultimately help you achieving greater success. With that, I want to welcome Brian, and I want to turn it over to Brian at this point in time. Brian?
Thank you, Nelson. Sharing my screen. Okay, so thanks, everybody. I really want to thank the Medicus team. They've really done a great job bringing these webinars to everyone during what is a very difficult time. Special thanks to Nelson, the self-proclaimed mayor, and Wayne and Rebecca for all their help in preparing this, and to Rob for moderating. For those who had the same question, it is true, Rob has a history of doing some radio commentating, so he does have the best voice, and that's why he was chosen for this role. Also want to thank Rebecca Neal from Verisoni. If you saw my slide deck before I sent this to Verisoni, you would think my 10-year-old did this with Crayola crayons, and this is the product that I got back. So I appreciate that very much. Little background. If I can advance there you go. So this, for those of you who know me, is me pre-COVID. Very clean cut, very professional. And if there was any doubt that I've been sheltering in place, this is proof that I have been. This is more than 2 months of growing a beard, which was shaved a couple days ago, but just wanted to make sure everyone knew I was following the state orders to a T. Speaking of, I live in Morristown, New Jersey, and I think it's important to thank the Healthcare Heroes. There's a hospital right in our town that has treated a lot of people with COVID, and just amazing the sacrifices that these healthcare heroes have made. So we extend our gratitude to them. And of course, 2 days ago, being Memorial Day, it's important to thank those that have paid the sacrifice, ultimate sacrifice for our freedom and way of life. So lots of thank yous to go around, especially during these tough times. So the agenda, wasn't really sure who was going to attend this. Part of the beauty of a webinar, you have to put something together for a wide variety of potential attendees. So I'm going to go into value-based care, why it's important, especially from our standpoint. We really believe in value-based care. We think it is so critical to so many components of healthcare, including the independent practice of medicine. Talk about value-based care, just 1.0, just talk a little bit about the terms and stuff that everyone should become familiar with if they're interested in learning more about value-based care. The elements to be successful in value-based care, there's a couple key ones, and then there's the rules to the road. And those rules are very difficult to navigate. You know, you can't be playing checkers when it's a game of chess. So you really have to understand those. I'm going to get pretty specific into 3 government models because there's a lot of overlap between value-based care models, but I think what you'll see is there's also a lot of nuances. And if you know one program, you know one program, but you'll learn a lot about value-based care, hopefully just by understanding the overview of these models. Government really is the body that is initiating value-based care. The private payers have been a little bit slow to follow suit, but they are catching up, and there's a lot of models out there that are gaining traction. There are so we'll talk a little bit about those, and also direct to employers. This is kind of the final piece of value-based care. If you can really begin to take risk in a meaningful way and start to compare yourself as a physician practice or, you know, a group of physicians or whatever your entity is, that's when you can really go directly to employers and really exceed in value-based care, but it is a progression. And then, of course, I think this would not be much of a complete presentation if we didn't address COVID. Significant impact COVID is having on the entire industry of healthcare, and value-based care is no different. I think the title is basically what the impact is going to be and whether it's going to derail value-based care. Hopefully it won't, but I think what you'll see is there's going to have to be some recognition by these programs and address the impact of COVID-19.